What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. And we're back once again talking about this amazing book, Journey of Souls, that I've really been enjoying. And this video is touching back upon a concept that I've already talked about in a previous video on this channel, coming back to the purpose of life. So as I'm getting to the end of this book, there are some interesting excerpts that I wanted to read out loud and discuss as they again get back to the heart of this idea of the purpose of life, why we incarnate, why we reincarnate, etc. And again, just as a preface, I want to state for folks who might be new to the channel, again, this channel is just getting started. The purpose and the goal of this entire channel is me doing an exploration and sharing my realizations and discoveries in real time from the books and resources that I'm choosing to read. So again, I'm definitely going to be using a lot of near-death experiences. I think there's amazing wisdom and knowledge buried within these near-death experiences, especially in the overlaps and the similarities and whatnot. And I'm using this book as well. And this is really a case study of a lot of not near-death experiences, but essentially information that is extracted while patients are under hypnosis. And what they describe, it actually does mesh well with a lot of other near-death experience testimonies as well. But it's a very fascinating discussion of what existence is like outside of the physical realm, in the light realm, if you will, and how it all ties into why we're here in this body, in this time period, etc. right now. What's the whole point? Why are we here? What is it all about? And for some reason, I've been drawn to this question my entire life, but especially more so now at this stage of my life as I'm in my mid 40s. And I don't know. So this is part of why I want to make a YouTube channel. I feel like I learn really well when I make content and make videos through that process of research and discussion and whatnot. So again, that's what it's all about. I'm not here to tell you this is how it is, but I'm here to analyze along the way, use my logic, use my brain in terms of what I'm reading and understanding to try and get a better understanding of why we are here and what this life is all about, and hopefully share those ideas with you guys. And the last thing I'll say is I don't think this information is necessarily crucial for everybody. I don't think everybody's seeking it, and I'm not trying to push it onto people that are not seeking it. But if there are other people out there like me that for some reason have this insatiable desire to try and get a better understanding of what everything is all about, so maybe they can lead the best life possible in the sense of what's beyond this life and hitting that purpose and hitting that target as best as possible. That's who this content is for. All right, so let's step into these excerpts now. This first one, having to do with why we're here and what this is all about, has to do with the concept of self-actualization, which is basically trying to be the best version of yourself. We hear this all the time in self-development books and whatnot, and I think we want that regardless, even if we don't even look at what's beyond or what's the greater purpose. If we just look at our individual goals on a daily basis to feel happy, to feel empowered, I think we all strive to be the best versions of ourselves. Maybe we don't always know what that means, but that's definitely a goal, just to live a happy and healthy life. But I'm going to share this little excerpt, which is really interesting. So Dr. N, this is the gentleman that wrote the book and that is carrying out the hypnosis. So he says, if all basic intelligent energy is the same, why are souls different in their character and integrity? And again, he's talking to a subject denoted as S, who's under hypnosis right now. So why are souls different in their character and integrity? Because their experiences with physical life change them. Experiences with physical life change them, and this is intentional. By that change, new ingredients are added to the collective intelligence of every soul. So what this means to me is, what they're saying is, after you go through each life or each incarnation, it's like something is changed in the energy. Maybe you could think about it as almost like a shift in polarity or a shift in current or something like that. And each of these experiences and lessons that we learn somewhat modifies the nature of the soul, the nature of the energy, which again goes back to this idea of character and integrity. And so Dr. N then says, and this is what incarnation in earth is all about. Again, a very interesting question, because really what it's asking is, in plain terms, what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? The subject, while under hypnosis, says, incarnation is an important tool. Yes, some souls are driven more than others to expand and achieve their potential, but all of us will do so in the end. And that's a very uplifting message. We'll all get there in the end. As much anxiety as we may have, like I do all the time, am I living the best life? Am I doing the best I can? Am I making the right choices or whatever? Uh, it's an interesting message. So take it for what it's worth. Again, this is just one person's description of what's going on while under hypnosis, but I think that's cool to hear it. Being in many physical bodies and different settings expands the nature of our real self. And the doctor says, and this sort of self actualization of the soul identity is the purpose of life in our world, on any world. So, again, this goes beyond just the idea of Earth. And they talk about this in this book as well as in near death experiences, that the universe contains, and maybe there's more than just this one universe, but it contains many habitable planets, and we can and have the choice to incarnate on various planets. Another thing that is often said in near death experiences, as well as in this book many, many times, is that Earth is a particularly difficult place to incarnate and live and have a life. And I think that's really cool when we are facing struggles or challenges. And it does feel like life is hard sometimes on this planet, even though I do love living this life and I do have really enjoyed my life, but we all go through times where things seem dark or bleak, and to hear that is pretty cool. There's also sections in the book that say the people that choose to incarnate on Earth are the courageous ones, because it is a difficult environment to survive and thrive and grow and evolve and whatnot, with all the temptations and different things that exist. So I think we should all, as humans that have incarnated in this time period on this planet, should wear that as a badge of honor. I think it's pretty cool. But you can see it's like that point again is all these difficulties, these challenges that seem to pop up out of nowhere that we're always trying to avoid. That may be the real key to life, the real point of life. So it's not something that we need to run away. At least that's kind of how I'm interpreting it. But those are the best times in our lives. Those are the points where we have the choice to level up and to approach those challenges in the best way possible to continue to grow and basically achieve the self-actualization. The next little quote that I've extracted has to do with another sentiment of the importance of working out difficulties independently. So this is an interesting thing that in this section, they're talking a lot about you could say the more advanced souls, the more advanced energy entities that often serve more as guides or teachers. And this is something that they talk about in this book a lot, is that the higher up you are in that hierarchy, it's not even really in hierarchy, but in terms of your vibration, your understanding, your level of empathy and all these other things, the higher up you are, the more likely you are to be guiding other souls that are earlier on in that process, if you will. So this is talking to somebody that is explaining when to jump in, when to intervene, when to help, to almost be that guide, that spiritual guide. But when is too much, because in this little excerpt, they talk about the notion that you don't want to, of course, they could jump in and communicate much more frequently. But the idea is, when you sometimes hear like, man, I felt like I heard, or I felt somebody guiding me in this direction or that direction. I think those instances are going to be far and few between, because they could potentially take away from the value that you could extract by really going through difficulty and trying to figure things out independently. So check this out. It says, what single thing do you have the most problem with during communications with people on Earth? Fear. Would you enlarge on that? I have to be careful not to spoil my people by making life too easy for them, to let them work out most of their difficulties without jumping right in. They only suffer more if a watcher moves in too quickly before this is done. Kumar is an expert at this. So Kumar is somebody that they've talked about, one of these spiritual entities, I think a spirit guide that they talk about in the book. But anyways, this is another very interesting thing, going back to the idea that these challenges and these difficulties are at the heart of really probably why we're here, because that's when our spirit and our soul can go through those difficulties and then come out the other end with a higher level of understanding, maybe a greater level of empathy, again, raising in vibration. Another thing that this makes me think back on as I close out this video is when I have gone through really difficult circumstances, especially in the last year of my life. I went through a particularly troubling ordeal that lasted for a long time, almost an entire year of like crazy anxiety and depression. It's like you're hoping, you're reaching out to whatever higher power you may believe in, or you're calling to the universe, the energy that's all around us, a God entity, maybe even ourselves. Is a lot of what they talk about in these near-death experiences and whatnot, is that God is really just a way to think about the energy that flows through all of us. We all have a piece of it inside of us. Maybe we're calling out to something to help us and really while you want the pain and the negativity and all that stuff to stop, there's value in working through it. There's value in having to sit with it and feel that pain, and then hopefully coming out on the other side leveling up. And even if we take the spiritual element out of all of this, and we feel this all the time in life. We're like, we always look back at the difficult periods and say, man, I'm so glad I went through that. Think about it. You go through a crazy breakup. 5 years later, like, man, I'm so glad I went through that because it taught me this, this, and this. And then I leveled up and I got stronger and boom, boom, boom. Or I'm so glad I had that failure because it taught me to bounce back and whatever, whatever. So we always seem to look back at these negative occurrences for the most part with great appreciation. And yes, I think that pays dividends within this life itself, but the overarching message is it's not only paying dividends within this life, it's also paying dividends beyond this life. And so what we're extracting in this life is we're going to carry with us those lessons and the progress that we make here outside of this realm into the next life, so on and so forth. So anyways, I just want to share that with everybody. I thought it was really, really cool, really, really fascinating and really positive, right? Especially as well, where they're talking about this idea of you grow with each incarnation. I think this stands in stark contrast with a lot of the notions of, hey, this is just one life. You come here, it's a test. You either pass with flying colors and you go to this eternal paradise, or you're like cast into eternal torture, eternal. That's I don't even think people can understand or wrap their minds around eternal while in this physical plane, because we see everything as finite. So just imagine it just, oh, I don't know. It just never made sense to me that entities will be created only to give them this one test where they're really trying to figure stuff out. And then if they fail, now you're eternally tormented and punished. That seems, the gravity and the weight of that punishment when it's eternal is just, right? It's infinite. It just doesn't seem to, it just didn't never seem to make sense in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean these narratives are per se wrong, but like I said, all I can do in this exploration is read, learn from others, learn from these sources that I believe are being overlooked but have great scientific merit and great value, and check in with my brain and check in logically, because I have to believe that our logic rests somewhere in the higher plane, and we extract a lot of logical thinking from within, from our soul energy, which is again connected to the divine, in my opinion. So all of that feels like a reasonable approach to me, a reasonable way to look at things, and a reasonable way to try and understand why we're here. That's it. That's all I got for you in this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope this is helpful and healing to anybody out there looking for this type of information. And that's it. I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.